3 is a magic number.
3 is a magic number. That was the very first Schoolhouse Rock song, and I remember the first time I heard it in my office 30 years ago. It was 1972. I was a young executive with ABC in charge of children's programming when the creators of Schoolhouse Rock came knocking on my door. Their enthusiasm was contagious as they pitched their idea of inserting educational material into catchy sing-along music. I thought this was such a great yet simple concept that I immediately offered them a contract. And the rest, as they say, has been history. History that has been truly music to our ears. Now I want to take you behind the scenes where they're making the latest Schoolhouse Rock song, I'm Gonna Send Your Vote to College, an all-new song about the Electoral College. And along the way, we'll hear some wonderful stories from the producers, creators, and performers who have brought Schoolhouse Rock into our homes.
And then he's doing the bottom. Three. The first part is just I got it out.
That's it. And we're gonna go to the top.
Schoolhouse Rock is back in session. And they're recording a brand new song. Schoolhouse Rock was first broadcast in 1973. For that generation of kids, it answered such questions as how a bill gets through Congress, why Zero is a hero, and why are we all victims of gravity. The show aired continuously until 1985, and then was brought back in the 90s for 5 more years. In 2001, they're at it again. I'm Gonna Send Your Vote to College is the 48th song produced by the original creators and performers.
This is George Newell. He wrote the song, guys.
Sorry, guys.
You don't know.
What do you think? I bet we could get a tape.
I'm gonna send your vote to college when you vote for president.
The idea of educational songs came from David McCall, the owner of an advertising agency where George Newell worked in 1970.
He also had 6 boys, and he took them on vacation to a dude ranch, and he noticed that one of the boys, who was having a great deal of trouble in school remembering multiplication tables, knew the lyrics to every current rock song.
The whole idea was based on repetition, that the kids, if they could hear a Beatles song or a Rolling Stones song for 2 or 3 times, that they would immediately, know the lyrics and can play them back to you.
So he put 2 and 2 together, and he came back to New York, and he said, what if we were to take things like rote learning, like the multiplication tables, and put them to rock music? The original intent was that it would be an educational phonograph record, and there was never any intent for it to be a television product.
What? Schoolhouse Rock with no pictures? It almost happened. But in true Hollywood style, an art director named Tom Yohe created what would become an Emmy-winning classic from a simple doodle.
The jump was made by Tom, who was an incredible artist and cartoonist. And when he heard the song, he thought it was very visual. And literally, while listening to the tape, he was sitting doodling figures and things. And he did a magician, and he did something else. And he said, well, these would make great animation.
Now, they needed a TV network.
ABC happened to be the advertising agency's biggest advertising account. We did all of their promotion and advertising work.
And Rad Stone, who was the account executive on that business, knew that ABC was looking for some short educational material.
But there was no idea that somebody would want a 3-minute and 15-second television program.
So he arranged a meeting with a fellow named Michael Eisner, who was the head of children's programming.
Michael Eisner, who would eventually run the Disney Company, bought the show at the first meeting. Hooray! And put it on Saturday mornings.
That's how easy it is to get into television.
When you pull down on my levers for the person of your choice, you're also choosing state electors who will have the final voice. They're called the Electoral College.
Getting into TV may be easy, but try writing a song about the American election system.
There's just nothing you can do, Because every state has slightly different ways of selecting. You know, in some states they're elected, in some states they're appointed, in some states the parties do it, in some states it's in the general election. It's impenetrable.
But sometimes a few great musicians can help strike just the right chord. Jack Sheldon and Bob Duro have been with the Schoolhouse Rock creative team since the beginning.
That's right, yeah. At the music center, I used to play with a hat.
How'd you do?
I did great. You know, with the college, you know what.
They're bringing out a bigger set of lyrics.
Oh, okay, good. To the be winner in each one, who the voters have.
Bob doesn't run a tight ship, but it floats.
So yeah, I wrote 3 as a magic number, and that started the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I was commissioned to put the multiplication tables to music, and that was my answer.
And you're so good at math.
3 is a magic number.
Today, Bob is the musical director, and both he and Jack sing on the new song.
Bob's the only guy I know who played piano with Charlie Parker and sang with Miles Davis. There ain't nobody else like that.
We sort of take our time, we have a good time, and we
But
we
you
get
are a
quality.
genius, too. That
He
helps.
is a
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I don't know about
I do.
Hey, you're kind of cute.
One of the great things about making Schoolhouse Rock was they could take their time.
The reason for that was that we were an advertising agency. We weren't a television production house, so we didn't have to worry about getting picked up next year or any of that business. We did one, and then we admired it, and then we did another one. And then we sat back and admired it, and then did another one. And literally, Tom drew on his kitchen table at home.
After Tom Yohe designed the look of each song, the next step was to give the drawings life.
Hearing the music, lining up my animation in a special way to hit in a rhythm, and get it all going.
Enter the animators.
When we started it, as George had said, we almost used them as fillers because we were a commercial studio and we're doing commercials. But it became a labor of love in such a way that we couldn't even think of the commercials. We just wanted to do Schoolhouse Rock. So every time it got slow, we were happy to pour all our energy into Schoolhouse Rock. And I really felt it on every one of them. And that was because the music was so good.
And even if the vote is close, and someone wins by just a little tiny hair, the electors give that person all their votes. And it's considered fair and square.
And then we wanted 1, 2, and it's considered fair and square.
And it's considered fair and square. Gonna send your vote to college.
As much as it was a labor of love for the people working on it, Schoolhouse Rock was a real TV show with sponsors and loyal fans.
We had billboards that said, Schoolhouse Rock is brought to you by your friends at Nabisco. And it was actually listed in TV Guide. The shows were listed. And I found out since by doing seminars around the country and things that kids really did look for it in the listings. I'd always thought that it got popular because at that point ABC was the leading children's network and the kids saw it whether they wanted to or not. But we were doing a seminar up at Harvard and 3 or 4 people stood up and said, that's not true. I switched from NBC to see these little 3-minute things on ABC, so it's pretty extraordinary.
Nowadays, the kids have all grown up, but the shows left a deep impression.
On the plane, coming down, I just wanted to review some of the stuff I was bringing down, and I opened up my little bag and pulled out some stuff, and this woman sitting next to me looks over. She said, "Is that Schoolhouse Rock?" And she was like in her late 30s. And went bananas on me, and she started telling her husband, "Hey, this guy does Schoolhouse Rock. Remember Schoolhouse Rock?" And she was so excited, it was just unbelievable.
There's a touring company. It goes about 300 times a year in various schools and places. We're very pleased with that. In fact, another play is opening shortly.
A group from Chicago, Theater Band, did a presentation they called Schoolhouse Rock Live. It's a big thrill to go and sit in the back of the auditorium and hear people singing words you wrote 20 years ago, and then they introduce you, and it's like, I felt like Elton John up there.
I'm consulting with the composer here.
That was great.
Okay, we'll listen and make sure. Print that.
One of the reasons for the show's popularity and success is its ability to really educate.
They took it out and tested it, and tested the concept. And the playback was, yes, it really teaches. It's just not another cartoon. And that was really the goal and the mission.
We were talking to fourth graders, kids who were really, beneath our target audience. And I would say that a third of them knew the songs. But they knew the songs because their teachers had them in the classrooms. The other thing that was really funny is that we were mobbed by the teachers because they had all grown up with it.
Along with educators, the television industry also recognized that Schoolhouse Rock was special.
And the winner is Grammar Rock.
This award in 1973 was the first of 4 Emmys won by the show.
I'd like to thank Mike Eisner and Chuck Jones for buying our little project in the beginning. And since I forgot to call my mom on Mother's Day, hi, Mom.
In 2001, at the age of 63, Tom Yohe, the original animator for Schoolhouse Rock, passed away.
Well, I'm not supposed to cry on television.
It was worth every moment, because I knew if he was happy, it was really good.
He was much more practical than I was, yet he was very, very, that isn't to mean he wasn't creative, because he could out-create me, 9 times out of 10 if he really wanted to.
And I miss him dearly.
So what if they don't have a big macho football team?
These days, Tom Yohe Jr. keeps the family tradition going. He's been a Schoolhouse Rock animator since 1994.
It's such a thrill to sort of be carrying on where my dad left off. Because I tend to draw a lot like him, he was my mentor for obvious reasons.
Tom Jr. created the character Mr. Morton when Schoolhouse Rock was broadcast in the mid-90s.
I had never realized that he drew practically identically to his father.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree sometimes, and I followed in my dad's footsteps pretty closely.
Father, son, and Lolly selling adverts here.
Tom has designed the song we did for this DVD about the Electoral College. So it's really great. I feel like I'm working for a family store.
E-L-E-C-T-O-R-A-L. Electoral College. We've got a tale to tell.
Okay, so we'll punch in, we'll punch out, we'll punch in again.
Okay, ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Becomes the president.
We're getting close. We're going to keep taking them till we like it, huh? Becomes the president. Becomes the president. Pretty good.
Excuse me, I have a chance to meet ladies. At our ages, every recording session is like a reunion.
Oh, yeah, we do have, at our ages,
You're together
we have
with your
reunions.
class members from Conjunction Junction.
Like I always say to Jack, I have to hire you to see you. I hire, when I book a session, I say, oh, I'll book him. I haven't seen him in 10 years.
Everyone who graduates becomes the president.
We're going to hear the whole chop.
Well, let me do that.
You can do that better?
Yeah.
I did something in my life that I could say I'm so proud of, and I'm so happy that I did it because, again, I just look around me, and so many people got so much out of it.
The feeling that you've done something that really helps people learn something that they couldn't learn in a different way.
So here we did something just for the love of doing it. And I think that all of us had a little teacher in us. I mean, I've always thought that teaching was a great thing.
I feel a little like Perry Como right now, so I might sing, "It's incredible."
'Cause everyone who graduates,
Yes, everyone who graduates.
everyone who graduates becomes the president.
Ta-da! It ain't the high-lows, is it?